He didn't run from the law, he ran from the truth. In 2009, he cracked the code of human emotion. In 2010, he realized the code was cracking him. What did the algorithm show him that was so terrifying he had to disappear? They say he still walks the trails at night, a silhouette against the moon, moving between the redwoods like a ghost who forgot he died. They say if you listen closely, you can hear the faint tapping of a keyboard coming from a cabin that has no internet connection. For the last 15 years, a rumor has circulated in the dark corners of Silicon Valley and the quiet halls of Wall Street. A rumor about a man who didn't just get rich, a man who didn't just get famous, a man who, at the absolute peak of his power, simply turned off the lights and walked away. His name was Arthur Penn, and in 2008, he was the architect of a financial algorithm that could predict market shifts. By 2009, he was worth $9 billion. By 2010, his apartment was empty and his office was shuttered. His social security number had shown no activity for 6 months. The official record states that Arthur Penn is a missing person. The unofficial record, whispered among the tech elite who funded him, suggests something far more terrifying. They say he didn't disappear because he was in danger. They say he disappeared because he saw something in the code. Something that told him the world he helped build wasn't just flawed, it was finished. Tonight, we trace the footsteps of the ghost. We ask the question that no one dared to ask, what did you see, Arthur? And more importantly, are you still watching us right now? To understand the disappearance, you have to understand the obsession. Arthur Penn wasn't a businessman. He was a mathematician who hated unpredictability. In 1997, while his classmates were building websites, Arthur was building a map. He believed that human emotion, the very thing that made markets chaotic, was actually just a series of predictable algorithms. He called it the mirror theory, the idea that the market doesn't react to news, the market reacts to the reaction to the news. When the housing market collapsed in 2008, everyone panicked. Banks failed, fortunes evaporated. But Arthur's servers didn't panic. They saw the fear, calculated the bottom, and bought assets while everyone else was running for the exits. In 6 months, he turned $2 million into $9 billion. But success brought a burden he didn't anticipate. He became a celebrity, a prophet of profit. People wanted his face, his time, his approval. The recluse who loved numbers was suddenly forced to shake hands. Friends say he started muttering the same phrase over and over in late 2009. It's too loud, the signal is breaking up. He wasn't talking about the data anymore. He was talking about the noise inside his own head. The algorithm that made him rich had a flaw. It could predict the market, but it couldn't predict the cost of the soul. The question remains, did he break or did he heal, and is there a difference? When you have $9 billion, you can hire anyone. You can hire private investigators, ex-CIA operatives, digital forensics experts. And they did. His old partners hired them all. They spent $5 million trying to find him. They traced his last credit card swipe to a bookstore in Portland, Oregon, a purchase of a single paperback, a worn copy of Walden by Henry David Thoreau. The clerk remembered him because he paid with cash and asked if the pond was still swimmable. Thoreau wrote, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." Arthur had escaped the mass, but the desperation remained. He wasn't running to something. He was running from the sound of his own success. The constant ping of the machine, wolves, a server room melting into a forest, wires turning into tree roots, binary code dissolving into leaves, nature reclaiming the digital world. In 2012, a hiker in the Olympic National Park reported a strange encounter. He found a cabin deep in the woods, no electricity, no running water. Outside, sitting on a stump, was a man with a satellite phone. The man wasn't talking. He was just holding the phone up to his ear, listening to the dial tone. The hiker asked if he was lost. The man looked up and said, "No, I'm listening to the silence. It's the only sound left that hasn't been bought and sold." When the hiker returned to civilization and saw the missing posters, he knew. He had met Arthur Penn, the hiker's sketch of the man. It's crude, but the eyes are detailed, haunting. The sketch fades to black, but by the time the investigators reached the coordinates, the cabin was cold. The only thing left was a single piece of paper nailed to the doorframe. Extreme close-up of the paper. Handwritten scrawl, "The data is inside you now." What did that mean? Was it a riddle, a confession, or a warning? Arthur Penn was a ghost, but his machine never stopped running. Deep in a secured bunker in Nevada, the algorithm he built, the one that made the billions, is still active. It runs on a closed loop, analyzing data that no longer exists in real time. His former partners kept it running, hoping it would eventually spit out a location, a pattern, anything. For years it produced nothing but gibberish. But 3 weeks ago something changed. The machine started transmitting, not to a server, not to a phone. It started transmitting a low-frequency signal. The engineers traced the signal. It wasn't going to a satellite. It was bouncing from an old radio tower in Montana to a repeater in Idaho, to a receiver in Washington, and finally terminating at a location that doesn't exist on any modern GPS map. It's an old Cold War listening post, a place designed to pick up Soviet chatter. Now it was picking up the ghost of Arthur Penn. A team was dispatched by the private equity firm that still owns his estate. They wanted answers. They found the bunker door slightly ajar. Inside, the air was dry and cold, and on the main console a single screen was glowing. On it was a message that made the lead investigator quit his job the next day. "You are not looking for me. You are looking for the part of you that I took." What does that mean? How did he know they were coming? And more importantly, how did he get inside their heads? To understand the final message, we have to go back to the mirror theory. Arthur believed that the world wasn't real, not in a philosophical life as a dream kind of way. He believed it mathematically. He theorized that consciousness was just a feedback loop. You see the world, you react, the world reacts to your reaction. It's an infinite loop of cause and effect. But what happens when you remove yourself from the loop? When Arthur vanished, he didn't just disappear physically, he removed his input from the system. He stopped reacting, and in doing so, he became the only variable that the algorithm couldn't predict. He became invisible. The investigator who found the bunker, a man named David Cross, spent 6 months in therapy after the incident. He told his therapist that when he read that message, he felt a sharp pain behind his eyes. He said it felt like someone was reading his mind, but not stealing thoughts, leaving them. David claims that Arthur left a seed in his mind, a single thought: "You are the algorithm." David interpreted this to mean that we are not living our lives. We are simply running the code written by our environment, our parents, our traumas. Arthur escaped the code, but David had to go back to running it. David Cross died in a car accident last year, a single car crash into a tree. No drugs, no alcohol. The police report stated he was going the speed limit. Witnesses said it looked like he just let go of the wheel. Coincidence? Or did seeing the ghost come with a price? The question we have to ask ourselves isn't where Arthur went. The question is, what happens to us if he decides to come back? 3 days ago, a forest ranger in Northern California filed an unusual report. During a routine patrol, she found a cabin that had been abandoned for years. This time the door was open. There was fresh coffee on the stove, and sitting at a wooden desk facing the wall was a man. The ranger asked if he needed assistance. The man didn't turn around. He simply said, "I'm almost done." She asked what he was doing. He said, "Writing the last line." On the desk there were hundreds of pages, a manuscript. She glanced at the first page. It was titled "The User Manual for Leaving the Matrix." When she looked up, the man was gone. The chair was empty. The back door was swinging in the wind. She ran outside, but the forest was silent. No footprints, no movement, nothing. The ranger's name was Sarah. She was an ordinary woman with an ordinary life. But for the last 72 hours she has been unable to sleep. She hears a tapping sound, a rhythm that sounds exactly like a keyboard. She didn't see his face, she didn't touch his work, but he touched her. He left the seed. Arthur Penn isn't hiding, he isn't running, he's farming. He's planting the idea of escape in the minds of those who are ready to listen. The billionaires are trying to build rockets to go to Mars. Arthur Penn is trying to teach us how to leave without moving an inch. The door was always inside you. You just forgot how to look. The question isn't whether Arthur Penn exists. The question is, are you ready to find your own door? And if you opened it, would you recognize yourself on the other side? Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be lived.